We've all seen, am I looking at the camera, Dar?
Yeah.
Looking at you or?
No camera on.
There, right. We've all seen friction fire lighting before, haven't we? You've probably seen it many times on YouTube and people playing the fiddle. It's quite a common thing now, but we do things a little bit different with Beyond the Embers here. So I'm going to show you today how to make fire from a very primitive way. I spent a lot of time in Greenland, you know, speaking to the Inuit and seeing how they would make fire years ago. And many of these resources are just fantastic. And they are here, even in northern Sweden, we could do the same thing. In a slightly different way maybe, because some resources are not in abundance here, whereas in Greenland, for example, they're not. So we have to adapt a little bit. So here I'm going to be talking about how to make fire basically from the sinews of moose and the rib bones of moose. Okay, in Greenland they would use walrus, or they would use narwhal bone, this type of thing, with the sinews, and you know, from the bones making tools and different things. So in this case we're going to be playing around with moose. So a little bit later on in the season, in October time, we're in April now, that I'm going to be basically focusing on how to extract the moose sinew out of the leg part of the animal. Okay, so we're going to be touching on that later on in the season. But I'm just going to show you now, after I've processed the sinew, and what we do with it at this stage. Okay, so I've extracted the sinew out of the moose leg. Now the sinews are very long, which is great. The longer the better. Okay, so here in Sweden, when the moose are hunting in October, unfortunately people are throwing away resources and throwing away parts of the animal which can be used for other things, which I think that's a shame. And you know, this is what I'm trying to do basically, is to try and bring awareness to the fact that, you know, not to throw things away that can be used. So for example, the sinew now is going to be coming out of the leg, and it's going to be quite wet and sloppy, and it's going to be a little bit slippery, this type of thing. So what I do is I will stretch, I'll put a nail into the sinew, onto a wall, onto a tree, and I will nail it down, basically give it a bit of a stretch, and leave it for a few days until this basically dries. Okay, like hard. It's really hard. Okay, and very rigid. So this is the stage now when I'm going to take it off the tree, or take it off the wall where it's been drying for a number of days. It only takes about 3 days actually, until it starts to turn clear. I don't know if you can see that's clear. All right. These also make excellent dog chews as well. You can save a lot of money even just using these for your dogs, you know. But I'm going to show you how to make, you know, cordage, for example, out of the sinew. So what I'm going to do basically now is I'm going to just remove this nail. Now what you're going to need now, you're going to need pebbles, okay, off the beach. Nothing sharp. It has to be a rounded stone. If it's sharp, it's likely to break or damage the sinews. So you need to use smooth, rounded rocks, okay? That is imperative. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the sinew onto a flat surface, and I'm going to find a rock which pretty much has another flat surface, right? Now, as soon as I hit it, you'll see it starting to turn white. Okay, so I'm just going to break up the fibers, okay? Okay, so I've been pounding this now for a few minutes, okay? Now it's good to pound it flat to begin with, but what I can also do, but you need to be a little bit careful here, is I'm going to turn the sinew on its edge, okay? And then I'm going to go a little bit easy here. I'm not going to go slamming it very hard. I'm just going to take it a little bit easier. I'm going to start rotating it over to the other edge. So what happens is the sinew really starts to break up, and I'm starting to expose the fibers. So I've only been hitting this a few times. I'm starting to rotate it now. until it starts to open up. So there you are, then I'm almost done. I'm not going to do the whole lot, I'm just going to give a demonstration on how to process the sinew. Okay, now then, have a look at this now. What I've done. These amazing fibres are starting to be exposed. Now you can still see it's a bit tight here, so that's going to need some more pounding. Okay, so there you go. So I would continue along the full length of the sinew until I start to expose. Now this is what I said about using the correct stone, because if there's anything sharp, you know, you could just with one hit break the sinew. So that's why it's important to have a rounded stone. Okay, so from this stage now, okay, I'm gonna keep on pounding right through until I start to get it to look like this. Okay, so you can see the sinew has been completely opened up. What I can do now is I need to process this. So I'll take a strand, okay, like this, and I'll run it through my mouth. Now I've seen the Inuit in Greenland, when they process the sinew, they roll it on the face. So what I can do now, I can quite easily use this as a sewing thread. I can plait this, I can weave this, and I can make so many things from this. So what I'm going to show now is basically how to thread a needle, a bone needle, for sewing reindeer skins or caribou skins. And so yeah, that's what I'm going to show you next. So I'm going to just pull off a very fine thread. So I'm going to split this again, okay? I can just roll it a little bit on my face, exactly the same as the Inuit do. And then I'm going to show you the bone needles. Okay, here is a needle holder, or a needle keepsafe made from red deer bone. So it's a simple design where you just pull a slither of leather out of the pouch, and this will keep all my needles safe. And I'm just going to thread a needle. Give it a bit of a roll as well on the face. So there we go. The needles. Now First Nation, how they would make needles is that they would take it from the rib bone of a certain type of duck. So birds, or game birds, the capercaillie, the grouse, the pheasant, you know, these type of birds, the game birds, as well as duck and geese, the rib bones of the bird would have been used for needles. Okay, so now I've shown you basically how to process the sinew. As I said, I'm going to be showing you how to pull out the sinew later on in the season in its raw state while it's still inside the leg of the animal. But obviously we moved on now, we pounded it all into string and this type of thing. But now I'm going to talk a little bit about the rib bone itself. So this is a rib bone of a moose. Now through the rib cage of the moose you get the stronger ones at the end, at both ends, and you get the thinner ones in the middle. Okay, so the thinner ones, they've got a little bit more bounce, they've got a little bit more give a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for, just get a bit more bounce. Okay, so this is kind of what you need. So I go for the middle of the rib cage, the large ones which have got a bit more of a bounce to them, like I said. And yeah, you can use the thicker rib bones at the beginning and at the end. They will work as well, but I prefer the mid bone, okay, the rib cage right in the center. So now what I've got here is I've got two different types of sinew that's been weaved and turned into rope, and this one has been plaited. So so we've got two different types. We've got plaited and we've got a traditional rope. Now how to mount the sinew onto the bow, okay? What I do simply is I'll make my sinew weave, whether it be plaited or to make the rope, and then I'll tie a knot on the end, allow it to dry, so basically it becomes hard, and the knot at the end maintains a rigidity. And then what I'll do is I'll pinch a piece of leather, a piece of moose leather. I'll pinch around and make a ring. So then this basically will fit nicely over the top of that. And then I'll just push it on. Now we've made our sinew, we've made our rib, we've sourced our rib bone, we've mounted the sinew into the bone. So now we're going to try and make fire with this, okay? Now then, in Inuit culture, the driftwood was an extremely important resource, okay? So if you can imagine Greenland, there's no trees in Greenland. So they would have sourced wood from driftwood, which has been drifted up onto the beach, and it would have been highly prized. They would have made sleds from it, canoes from it, or the canoe frame from driftwood. They would have used the bow drills, not to make fire, but as such, but held in the teeth. So the Inuit would can also make a small mouthpiece which would hold a drill with a tiny bit of steel in the end that they would source from somewhere, or even flint, and they would have drilled the hole and spun the drill with their teeth to make holes to fix things together. But anyway, but the same method applies. With driftwood, we're going to use a piece of driftwood and see if we can make fire. The socket area, the socket part that I'm going to hold to get the drill spinning, this is out of a piece of bone also. With wood, the problem with wood is when you've got a socket, eventually you're going to bore a hole right through the wood. Also, you're having to change the shape of the hole in a wooden socket, because it's going to get deeper and deeper and deeper. You'll start getting conflict, you'll start hearing the squeaking noise, and the drill is basically conflicting with the wood as it bores in. So you're always with a wooden socket, you're having to change. But with a bone socket over your hand, I've had this for years, and what am I, 5mm down already? You know, after a few years of use. So you can see how bone is much more of a versatile resource to use for this type of thing. And the Inuit knew this, okay? So, and there's other bone parts that we can use. Now, this fits perfectly in my hand. So this is the hip bone area that's been cut. Okay, so I can hold it like this. My hand will sit very comfortably on that. It's almost shaped exactly for my hand. Look. And then the drill will spin in this housing. So this is just things that you can use, you know. So, okay, we're gonna try and make a fire with with the rib bone. I've already cut the bird's mouth out of this, so we can just jump straight into it. But I will shape the drill a little bit. Okay, so this particular rib bone is from the beginning of the rib cage, and this one is the one in the middle. So you can see the difference, yeah? One's rather thick and one's rather thin. So just to give you an example of the different bones that you can use. So, and you know, the Inuit knew these things. They knew they were living in such a harsh environment without the resources that we have here, say in northern Jämtland, in northern Sweden, without no trees. So they had to change their whole way of survival. So yeah, so let's put this drill inside and let's see where we go from this. So it's probably a little bit tricky, as it always is, to get this in. Okay, she's in. All right. So a lot of pressure on this. That's better. Yes, that's it. Have you got that there? Gary. So there we go. Fire from sinew and the rib bone of a moose.